Today, 4 p.m., it's Parent Talk by Sipping Thoughts. And we have two very beautiful guests with us, Rupali and Lydia. Rupali and Lydia, welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
these guys are founder of Motivo. And what is Motivo? Motivo is a platform for children of today to help them navigate through adulthood. And one way they do it is by helping them develop their emotional intelligence. During this time of pandemic, it is even more important for parents to help their kids navigate through their emotions in a positive way. And Motivo has program to help them in just that. So basically, एक साधारण शब्दों में मैं जो रूपाली से समझ रही थी just before the show is exactly emotional intelligence है क्या? So she explained it to me very simply by saying कि अपने emotions और दूसरे के emotions को समझना is a part of emotional intelligence. So now I again asked her कि समझने से क्या होगा? So she gave me a very simple example कि अगर बच्चा नाराज है और उसको ये समझ में आ रहा है कि वो नाराज है, तो वो ये सोच सकता है कि वो नाराज क्यों है इफ ही इज इमोशनली इंटेलिजेंट. सो व्हेन वी अंडरस्टैंड आवर फीलिंग्स, या बच्चा ये समझ रहा है कि मेरा पेरेंट अगर इरिटेटेड है तो वो क्यों है, तो जब उसकी जिंदगी में वो रीजनिंग आ जाती है तो वो बहुत चीजों को आसानी से हैंडल कर लेता है, और आसानी से हैंडल नहीं भी कर पाता है, सो ही बिकम्स अ बेटर कम्युनिकेटर. So in short, that is what I was understanding for Rupali. So on that note, welcome you guys. I hand over to both of you to share your journey with us, to share your program with us, and to share what emotional intelligence is. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Minal. I think you're a very emotionally intelligent mother because you got it in a jiffy what I shared with you. Well, thank you so much for everyone for making the time out for attending today's webinar. So before we start the webinar, let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Rupali Agarwal, an ICF certified international mindset coach, and I've done my master's in emotional intelligence. Minal, I firmly believe that emotions is the platform or the foundation on which your belief systems and your emotional patterns are formed, which go on to shape your life. Speaking about myself, I was a very young adolescent who suffered from very low esteem. And it was not many, many years later I encountered a philosophy which totally transformed my mindset. So when I got myself certified as a international mindset coach, I knew my mission and my purpose had to be with the teens and the youth. I want them to be seen, I want them to be heard, and I want them to be understood. So I really feel adolescence is a very critical and transitional period in a child's life. And if we are to positively harness them in the right path now, only success lies ahead of them. So when it was around this time, me and Lydia, we met together and we co-founded Motivo. And it was not a not difficult thing for us to understand that the first thing which we needed to tap was on emotional intelligence. If you look at the taglines, it says engineering growth or tapping the power within each child. I really believe, Minil, that a child is like a diamond and all it requires is a bit of polishing for the inner light to shine in. So this is the time when we, in this EQ-driven society, we consciously chose to create a program on emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence and why is it the need of the hour? So let me not keep you away from the webinar anymore. Lydia, I would request you to take up from here. Over to you, Lydia.
Thank you, Rupali. Thank you, Minal. And welcome all of you for taking time out to be with us. 4 o'clock is a, important time. And to take that time out, I'm really, really grateful to all of you. It only goes on to show that how interested all of you are, or rather all of us are, to look after our children or to see their well-being. Now, coming to me, I am Lydia. You already know because the other one was Rupali. So I have been in the corporate world for over 27 years, and I worked with a multinational bank and in the capacity of human resource manager. But there came a point in life where I was thinking, oh, what do I do? I'm like doing the same thing over and over again. So I said, no, I want to do something where my passion for people met its purpose. And as Rupali said, that's when we met. Motivo came into being. Okay. I'm also certified in emotional intelligence. I'm an emotional intelligence practitioner, master in emotional intelligence. So as Rupali said, it was no brainer for us to work on emotional intelligence. And also, more importantly, we wanted to do this because we wanted to focus on children, because they are our representatives into the world, and it's only fair that we invest in them. So coming to that, let me take you to my presentation for today, raising emotionally intelligent children during pandemic. And I'm going to start by posing a question to all of you. Okay. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults. What do you think? Is it easier to build stronger children than to repair broken adults? Write yes in the chat box if you think so. Okay. 5 minutes, just give me a minute. This slide doesn't seem to be moving. Just 1 minute, just 1 minute. Something seems to be. Let me see if this works. Just a minute, the slide. Okay, we come to the last. Just give me a second. Something is wrong with this slide here. Just bear with me, parents, for a minute. Sometimes some things just go out of control.
That's all right, Lydia. It happens to us.
Yes, yes, I know.
We all are learning. We are all adapting in this COVID pandemic.
Well, thank you for the patience. Now, coming to emotional intelligence, what is emotional intelligence? You know, जब हम लोग emotional intelligence के बारे में बात करते हैं ना, we forget the word intelligence. We only get stuck in the word emotional. And for all the people who've been in the corporate world or otherwise also now, you hear very often people say, oh my God, she's so emotional. या बोलेंगे ये बड़ी emotional है यार, इसके सामने तो नहीं बोलना है. You know, and normally people are labeled as weak. So today we're going to go beyond being emotional. We're going to go to emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence is all about being smart about your emotions. It's the ability to understand your own emotions and that of the others. Now, emotional intelligence was actually founded by John Mayer and Peter Salovey in the year 1964. Okay, but it only became popular in the year 1995 when Daniel Goleman, a psychologist, he wrote a book on emotional intelligence, on why EQ matters more than IQ. तभी लोगों को पता चला, अच्छा, emotional intelligence, okay, emotional quotient भी कोई चीज है, you know, that's when people started talking about emotional intelligence and learning about emotional intelligence, and you can see the time that it has taken. And now we're talking about emotional intelligence. So, you know, it's been a journey. So what Daniel Goleman did is, to make it more simple for us to understand, he kind of divided this into 4 segments. He said self-awareness. You know, Meenal started by saying कि अगर if you know how you're going through, you know what your feelings are, तभी आप कुछ कर पाओगे. अगर आपको पता ही नहीं है कि आप खुश हो या दुखी हो या angry हो, so you'll not be able to do anything. So self-awareness is understanding, is knowing your feelings, is knowing what is causing that anger. You know, only once you know कि you can do something. अगर आपको पता है कि आप क्यों नाराज हो, तभी आप कुछ कर पाओगे. You know, if you know that, you know, drinking this hot cup of tea has burnt your tongue, so next time you will not try and drink that hot cup of coffee. So, you know, you'll wait for it to cool down a little bit. So then it becomes very important that first you understand what your feelings are. कि आप समझिए क्या हो रहा है. Then only you can manage it. Without understanding, you can't manage. Then he says, you know, we are all social beings कि हम साथ में रहते हैं. So it is also very important कि not only about understanding your own feelings, but understand the other person's feelings. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Okay, because there's no right or wrong. It's just a perspective. When you put yourself in the other person's shoes, you will have empathy. You will judge less. कि आप ना दूसरों को judge नहीं करोगे. कि आपको अगर पता चलेगा कि उस बंदे का क्या हो रहा है, why that person is परेशान, You will be less judgmental. So then moving to relationship, we all have various relationships, whether it's parent child, whether it's siblings, whether it's friends, whether it's boyfriends, girlfriends, different kinds of relationship. And relationship management will teach you how to maneuver around those relationships. How? Through effective communication skills, through managing conflict, through managing change. So this is how emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman has simplified it for all of us to understand. Now, what happens is mostly, there are three kinds of environment where children learn to express their emotions. Now, before I move to that, I want to do a little exercise with all of you. I want all of you to just close your eyes. Okay? And imagine that you are this 5-year-old child playing with your building blocks. And you're trying very hard to build this nice, tall building. And you finally managed to build this tower. Just then, your brother comes running into the room. One kick to your building block. It all tumbles. Gir jata hai. You are raged. You're hungry. Your emotions are bubbling inside. Just then, your mother comes. She puts her arms across you and she says, "What happened, my dear?" And your emotions come bubbling out. You can feel your body get cold. She hugs you tighter. You snuggle into her arms. You feel better. You look up. You look at her. She smiles at you. You smile at her. You wipe your tears and you go back to your building block. She does not try to fix it. She gives you that space, right? Now, let's go to a real life situation. As a child, as a teenage, as an adolescent, or even in your prime youth, think of a situation when you've gone through a situation and you wanted to share your feeling or your emotion with your parent or your adult or with somebody in the family, maybe your sister, brother, whoever. How did they respond to you? Did they accept your emotions? Or did they say, "ठीक है, बाद में बात करते हैं ना"? Or did they say, "It's okay, just go about, do it again, so what"? What did they tell you? And how did that shape your belief, or for that matter, your personality? So, what happens is there are, as I said, there are generally three ways in which children learn to deal with emotions. Or, one is the first one, repression. Now, what happens here? Here, the child is, wanting to express, but is not getting a very conducive environment. Is probably scared, has been rejected, said "ठीक है, बाद में," or rebuked. Therefore, the child starts repressing his or her feelings, under. Comes to an extent that starts disassociating himself. He stops expressing, "यार ऐसे ही है, छोड़ो." But remember, this does not go away, parents. ये जो repression है feelings ना, it remains. And it comes back as an adult. And this time it comes back differently. How does it come back? It comes back in that extra glass of wine at a party, or that extra cigarette when they are with friends. Okay? Or aimlessly just scrolling through the mobile, television, or even spending those few extra hours at work. I'm sure we can identify that a lot of people, when we used to see in offices, don't want to go home. All of this because they have not learned to share. They are so used to just being on their own. So they prefer engaging in things where they can hide behind a mask. You see? The next one, aggression. Here the child is fearful, is scared. So keeps, suppressing emotions and bubbling inside, want to share but scared of being rejected. बोलना चाहता है but नहीं, डर लग रहा है, मम्मी डांटेगी, नहीं पापा मारेंगे, नहीं तो छोड़ दो, want to share, dying but can't, and bubbling inside. All as they get an opportunity, bang, they go. And how? In that loud voice, in that hyperactive behavior, in looking for attention, and then parents say, "Ye baap re, bahut badmaash hai, he's so naughty, he doesn't listen." But all the child is doing is trying to express through his behavior, which we are probably ignoring. Again, all of this behavior, which the child has probably, grown up in the environment that the child has grown up in the adulthood, or as they grow up, they tend to become bullies. And that's why you hear so many cases of, bullying and ragging, and they become bossy because they want to hide behind. Because unko to wo environment nahi mila. So now they want to be that boss, because they've always grown up in that scared environment. Ab wo boss banna chahte. So, and when they become big, also in violent behaviors. And that's where you hear of physical abuse, verbal abuse, and the last, expression. Here the child feels comfortable, knows that I can always share with my parents. Jo bhi ho, all emotions are welcome. If I'm sad, if I'm happy, if I'm angry, I know my parents are always there. I know they have my back. Jab bhi mauka mile, I can always share with my parents. And these children grow up to be matured adults. They know how to regulate their emotions and feelings. They know what to do when they feel low or when they feel high, and they can, it comes to an extent that if they don't feel good, they're so confident because they have grown in that environment jahan unko that confidence mila hai ki kuch bhi hai, we are with you, so don't worry. So when they become big and they have problems and challenges, they know how to pick up the phone, talk to their friend, call their mother, or talk to somebody, or if worse comes to worse, they know how to write journals. They go and start doing yoga, meditation. And in an extreme scenario, these children are even so capable when they grow up that they can even go to a therapist. They can go to a counselor. They can talk freely because that's the kind of environment that the child has grown up in. Now, if you look at this, and we spoke about all this environment, so aap soch rahe honge, but my childhood was, so different. We didn't know about all this. Yes, we are learning with every day. We are learning more and more. We are living in changing times. Please don't judge your parents because your parents gave you the best they had or they knew or what they had learned. So hum log bhi, we have also learned from our parents, which we try and impose on our children, which we try to do. But now, things are changing so much. The environment is changing. They're living in changed times. The children's outlook towards life is changing. Now, having said that, we move to the data which WHO publishes, and they tell you that there is 1.2 billion adolescents in the world. Can you imagine? India has the largest number of adolescents. So parents, we have a big job at hand. Yeah, we have to be extremely mindful. Mental health conditions globally account for 16%. And all of this happens between the age of 10 to 19. So 16% I've soch rahe ho, it's like really high. And at the age of 10 to 19, yes. Because you know why? This is the time the children are going through a lot of changes. Physical change ho rahe hain, hormonal change ho rahe hain. Boys are going through their own kind of changes. Girls are going through their own kind of changes. Mental change, exposures, they're seeking attention. So all this change is happening. So we've got to be extremely mindful. 1 out of every 5 children suffer from some kind of anxiety, yeah, depression, and this later on could lead to depression. Suicide is the third leading cause of death. And you know what? This happens within the age of 15 to 19. Again, parents, very vulnerable period, right? This is the time they're going through their board exams. They're appearing and they're making choices about careers. They're under pressure from parents कि आपको डॉक्टर बनना है, इंजीनियर बनना है, उनको आर्टिस्ट बनना है. तो there is a lot of conflict that's going on in their mind. So again, parents, we have to be extremely mindful. You can go and read more information on adolescence, which WHO publishes. The link is also there, so go and read more about it. Having said that, most of these mental health problems begin at the age of 14, but you know what, most of them go undetected because we are either not listening, or we are not observing, or we are not mindful. And because they go undetected, they go untreated. And it's really, really sad. So parents, we've got to be a little more careful and aware of what's happening around us. Now, you may say, okay, but how do I know whether my child is low on emotional quotient? Okay, we'll tell you, observe your child. When the child is low on emotional quotient, normally they will find it difficult to express. They like to be on their own, unko akhele. They like to probably, be submerged in a book. Reading is not bad, but how much time? Does he do that often? Does he not want to mix with others? These are all signs of low emotional quotient. He probably does not know sometimes that why is he feeling sad or anxious. Kabhi unko lagega, Mama, I'm not feeling well. But aap puchoge kya ho gaya, so they're not able to pinpoint ki kya, why I'm not feeling well. So again, they have terrible mood swings. They're like a pendulum, na. Kabhi kabhi dekhoge aap ki they're so ecstatic, they're so happy, so joyful, and kabhi they'll be so sad, they'll be in one corner. So you have to pay attention. Because they're low on emotional intelligence, their self-belief is very low, their confidence level is low. As a result, what happens? They don't like to, take part. They don't like to take initiatives. They like to, be in their same comfortable zone. They don't like to try new things. They don't like to lead projects, don't like to, go and play games and want to be the captain. Or, theek hai, humko team mein mil gaya chance, so I'm part of the team. They don't want to go forward, and they're extremely, extremely, defensive. They don't like feedback and criticism. So for these kind of children, we have to be very, very careful when we're trying to give them feedback. Okay, and all of this actually happens for fear of judgment, because they're so scared that nay, I'll fail, so they don't want to take risk because fear of failure. Nay, I'm not good. So maybe they would have got judged somewhere, or somebody would have told them, ki, nay, you're not good, yaar, so you can't sing or whatever, So some past experience would have been there, which would have shaped their belief that they're not good. So therefore, we have to be on the lookout for our children, and to see where do they belong. Now, emotional intelligence has no fixed index. Okay, nobody is born with emotional intelligence. It is built over time. So that's why we say let's work with parents to build the emotional intelligence of our children. We can boost it through various activities and exercise. Okay, so there's no perfect index. The more you experience, the better you get at it. Okay, now we spoke about low emotional intelligence, just to give you in terms of characterization, the difference between jo bacche high hote hain, not only children, even individuals. When you're high in emotional intelligence, and you're low on emotional intelligence. So when you're high on emotional intelligence, you're very, very confident because your self-belief is so high. I'm good. You're charming. You want to go and lead. Most of the time, आपको captain बनना है football team का. I want to be the class monitor. You're at the same time, you're full of empathy. You like to listen. You listen to others. Okay, you're very warm and social. Now going completely opposite to low emotional intelligence, they are aggressive. Okay, remember bully, remember being bossy. So they kind of hide behind these kind of behaviors. They're selfish, they don't like to share, they like to be on their own. Okay, they're extremely critical, not only about themselves but about the other person, because they have been judged, or they know that they're not good, or they think that I'm not good, they think the other person is also not good. So contrasting behavior. People with high emotional intelligence often choose to respond, and the low emotional intelligent people will react. To respond में आप पहले सुनोगे फिर respond करोगे. Low emotional intelligence, you will first react, then you will think or you will listen. नहीं मैंने तो किया नहीं है, अच्छा क्या बोलना है, अच्छा आप कुछ बोल रहे हो, अच्छा ऐसा, so there's a difference in behavior in terms of both these characters. Now you may ask, but how do I manage the emotions, or what are the ways that I can manage it? It's not only about managing it in crisis, but yes, pandemic has given us a lot of opportunity. So on the positive side, we have got so much time to spend with our loved ones. We have learned a lot now from them, otherwise क्या होता है ना कि हम भागे जा रहे हैं, कभी स्कूल जा रहे हैं, कभी ट्यूशन जा रहे हैं, काम में जा रहे हैं, कहीं ऑफिस बिजनेस टूर में जा रहे हैं, तो वी डोंट गेट दैट टाइम. So we have to thank the Lord कि आपने ये मौका दिया समझने की, so we can understand each other. So firstly, I would say is that monitor the emotion. What is it that your child is doing? The child will emote through behaviors, and remember parents कि every emotion is conveying a message. हर इमोशन ना कुछ आपको बताने की कोशिश करे, तो वी हैव टू लिसन टू दैट मैसेज, we have to try and decode that message. So monitor that. What happened if you see an unusual behavior ना, otherwise your child is a happy go lucky child, but अगर आप देख रहे हो कि अरे 2-3 दिन से बच्चा क्यों ऐसे he is so quiet, he's not talking, ask, is everything all right? You want to share something? And if you see that normally the child is very quiet but suddenly has become very hyperactive, so what happened? Is everything all right? You want to share something? Ask questions, ask pleasant questions, is okay? You want to talk about something? Is there something that you want to share with me? Ask a lot of pleasant questions. And when you ask questions, have the appetite to listen and listen, because when you listen, they will open up, they will share more. Okay, and don't be judgmental. The child is trying to tell you something and you're cutting in. नहीं तो क्या हुआ ना, बात कर ले, अरे अच्छा ये कर. No, we have to listen. इसलिए हमारे पास 2 खाने हैं, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So we have to listen more. So when the child is telling us something, listen to the child. Okay, don't be judgmental. See what the child is saying, but at the same time, through your body language, let the child know that you are there at all times, that you have their back, that kuch bhi ho, my parents are there. I can always go back to my parent and speak about my parent, speak to them about my challenges. Okay, resist the rush. What do I mean? Don't be in a hurry to fix things for them. Let them fix it on their own. Remember the tower जो आपने बनाया? You were this 5-year-old child who built the tower. Your tower fell down. You built it again. All your mother did was hugged you, made you feel comfortable. So resist the rush. Don't be in a hurry. Give them time. Okay? And I would say step away. Give them space. उनको समय दो, उनको space दीजिए. Give them, let them figure it out. What I need to do. They will fix their own problem. Yes, again, I emphasize here, but let them know that you are there. Please create that environment for the children. Yeah. Now moving on, you may say, but why is emotional intelligence important? Okay, so emotional intelligence is important. We saw the 2 characteristics कि high emotional intelligence होने से इस तरह की कैरेक्टराइजेशन होते हैं. लो इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस होने से हाउ should people behave normally. Okay, so emotional intelligence boosts your self esteem. Okay, and अगर आपकी self esteem high हो तो आपकी confidence level will automatically go up. You will not be scared to take, to decisions. Your decision making will be good. You will, want to lead. You will be confident about yourself. You will know how to regulate your emotions. You will can manage change easily. Okay, it can help you resolve conflict. Now when I say conflict, don't think about conflict about the outside world. Of course they will have conflict with friends. You have so much of conflict at home with your in-laws, with your sister-in-laws, तो वो तो लगे रहते हैं. But it is also about the inner conflict that the individual goes through, and this is where mostly you need your regulation of your emotions to manage your conflict. And of course enhance your communication skills. We all know, right, कि with effective communication you can get most of your work done. अगर आपकी communication skills अच्छे हैं तो most work is done because you know how to communicate your way through it. So you can, communicate effectively. You can master social skills. ना आप बोलेंगे ये social skills क्या है? This is where the child learns how to behave. कि आप जब बर्थडे पार्टी में जाते हो तो you don't want to go and sit in the corner. You want to participate. You want to join in those fun games. You want to dance. You want to sing. But at the same time, if you go for a funeral, okay, you know how to you have to know how to conduct yourself. You have to empathize. You have to give sympathy. You have to be soft spoken. So again, these are some social skills that you will learn. And above all, help in the academic environment. Very, very important, right? And how? Because here the child learns to regulate emotions, because the child is so much so confident, builds good relationship with parents, with teachers in school, with the peers. कि उनको ना कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है तो फोन कर लेते हैं, अरे ये पता है मुझे समझ में नहीं आया बता दो. But if your child is low on emotional quotient, is scared, the child will, feel shy. नहीं मैं पूछूंगा तो लोग हंसेंगे ना मेरे पे because मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. But an emotional intelligent child will not. You know, फोन मैम ये बता दो, मैम मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, यार अपने दोस्त को फोन कर लेंगे. And also they will know how to deal with the anxiety and the stress that comes with the exam. They know how to do it because they know how to regulate their emotions. So it is very, very important that we help our children. Now you may ask, आप तो सब बता दिए कि इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंट बच्चे कैसे होते हैं, बट ये करे कैसे अब हम? तो आई विल ऑल्सो अगेन टेल यू. Mainly talk about feelings, talk about emotions, just talk about some event that has happened in your life. Daily हमारे लाइफ में कितने इवेंट होते हैं. अगर घर में भी मेड नहीं आता है तो वो भी एक इवेंट है, वहां भी आप नाराज हो रहे हो. So छोटे छोटे इवेंट, you don't have to have like major historical event to talk about. Talk about feelings and emotions. Ask them to share. अच्छा क्या हुआ आज स्कूल पे? How was your online class? I saw your ma'am was shouting. Why was she shouting? Make these small conversations. Parents, बड़ी बड़ी conversations करने की जरूरत नहीं. See what the child is saying. Talk about emotions. अच्छा ma'am angry थी. अच्छा you were very happy. Talk about feelings and emotions. Practice emotional intelligence through activities. अब ये क्या हो गया? तो यहाँ है ना, come together as a family. Try and play board games, Scrabble. There are so many games where you talk, you use emotions, play business, or probably just see a movie together as a family. These are all ways of practicing emotional intelligence and observing each other and learning each other. And of course, you can enroll them for workshops and trainings. And as Rupali said, Motivo has come up with this emotional intelligence program, which we will tell you a lot in detail towards the end of the program. But it's a very, very effective 5-week program. So you can look at enrolling them for the workshop. Also engage them in group activities, Reading book is nice, sending them for swimming is nice, but also maybe you can put them in, encourage them to take part in group activities. That's where we learn a lot about team building, how to get along with others. And above all, help them to pursue what they like. not what you like. As much as we want them to do what we like, but it is important to respect their decisions, understand their individuals. They can be our children, they can be they're only our representatives into the world, but they come with their own identity. You know, हम तो चाहते हैं उनको डॉक्टर बना दे, engineer बना दे, which is very good. Have that conversation. So tell them, you know, action consequence होता है कि ऐसे होने से ये होगा, you know, but they have to decide at the end. Because remember, suicide rate very high, and at the age group of 16 to 19, that's the time when they're making all the decisions. So we have to be a little mindful, and that's where Motivo comes in. That's where Motivo believes in empowering young children. We provide them a platform where we don't judge them, we just encourage them to share their feelings. With that, I hand you over to Rupali.
Thank you, Lydia. That was so beautifully explained. So let me tell you a bit about what is the purpose or what is the motive behind Motivo. So, well, when we were curating this course, we had an option. Do we just put an online course which was able for everyone to access, and they could do it from the comfort of their home? No, but we wanted to actually personalize this experience of emotional intelligence. What do I mean by that? We actually wanted to co-create with the child. So the moment you have a group of students who are expressing, talking, sharing their perspectives about emotions, the entire energy of the class changes. So what I mean by that we wanted to co-create with each child and help him find his own perfect solution. So that is our aim at Motivo, to actually personalize the experience. And that's why we meet on a Zoom call once a week while your child enrolls for this course. So it's not like a regular online module courses which are available. And moving on to what is the mission behind Motivo. Well, we at Motivo really feel that each child is born unique and he's born with his own strengths and his own weaknesses. So we at Motivo will teach your child to embrace your strength and to accept your weakness. And from there on, create your own personal, unique identity. So when you embrace your strengths, you embrace your weaknesses, that's when you're empowered. And we at Motivo will teach your child to do exactly that. Moving on to the vision. Well, while we were curating this course, there came an insight onto us that how unaware were the parent as to how their parenting style was impacting the life of the child and his future. So therein became a quest for all of us to be a part of platforms. We're so thankful to Sipping Thoughts for giving us a platform to connect with each parent and you. But how important is your role as a parent to shape your life of your child? And that's where we want to do a lot of seminars on mindful parenting, because believe me, your role is absolutely paramount now. Having said that, we aspire, we hope to, co-create with a lot of schools, a lot of institutions, and take the world of social emotional learning to each part of India. So that it's the sense, is the purpose behind Motivo. Over to you, Minal.
So, whenever we have these sessions and all, there's so much to learn from you guys. It's amazing. I was reading this book actually about emotional intelligence, and survey वगैरह भी हुआ था, तो उसमें जो emotional intelligent kids थे, they were highly successful in life. So yeah, I was actually reading Daniel Goleman's book one. So yeah, so that was the story. So can you elaborate more about the program, because I'm slightly intrigued about what you teach, how you teach, कैसे करते हो sessions?
Yeah, so firstly, it's the 5-week module, Minal. So from the time the child enrolls for the course, we actually personally handhold your child and take him into this world of emotional intelligence. So once he enrolls, he gets access to the online module. Once he gets access to the online module, like for every 5 days, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the child does an activity. And once a week, we get over a Zoom call. And as we said, we co-create with each child. So here, every child put express his views, his perspectives as to why he felt so. And learn to, express his emotions. It's only when you have a platform of children freely expressing and communicating how they feel, the energy of the class totally changes. So that's what we mean. So that's the course features, is that we have, activities, activity sheets, we have videos, we have debrief sessions with the coaches once a week. So let me give you a brief idea as the kind of activities we want to we will enroll your child with once he does this course. So for instance, there is this activity which we have, which is like a traffic signal. Okay. So traffic signal has three lights: the red light, the green light, and the yellow light, right? So what are we trying to tell the child through this activity? We are trying to tell the child that feelings are normal. It's like weather. It will come, it will go. You cannot handle that. But one thing you have control is about how you act after that feeling has come. So for instance, your child is feeling angry. So we tell your child to say, look at the red light, stop, think, pause. So what are we trying to tell the brain of the child? Okay, you are aware that you're feeling angry. Do not react. Just think, pause, go on to the yellow light. Now we are telling the through the yellow light, think of possible ways you can handle that anger. You could probably go for a walk, or probably go tell your mama that I'm feeling angry. So what are we trying to tell your child? Okay, I'm feeling angry, but let me think of ways how to get out this anger. And finally, the green one. The green one is possibly the best way how to handle the anger. So through many of these, many more activities, giving them, scenarios. If suppose this was a situation, how would you react? How would you respond? So what are we trying to do through these activities to make your child smart about emotions? See, this emotion is something you cannot get away from it. Be it in your school, be it in your relationships, be it in your child to find out about himself. He will be confronted with emotions in every sphere of his life. Now, the faster you introduce a child to the world of emotional intelligence, the better are his chances of being successful in life. So that in itself is the sense of the course which we have at Motivo.
So Rupali, you just said, कि जितनी जल्दी हो सके. So how early can a child join this course? Like,
so our course starts from the age of 6 and it goes on till 18. As we say, this platform is totally devoted. I feel my passion lies with the youth and the adolescents. So our program starts from 6 because I think one of the key features of this is, Minal, is that we want the child, the parent to be aware when the child is doing the activity. See, the smaller children, this is the junior and elementary, they're okay with it. Probably the thode bade bachche will not be very comfortable with talking about, exposing themselves. But your child is exposing traits of his personality, his likes and dislikes, which will help you bond with your child better. So be very proactive while the child is doing your activity. Don't guide him for it, but definitely be aware. Oh, this is the way he would like his life to be. This is his strength. This is his likes. This is what he's grateful for. Oh, with this situation, he would probably react like this. So he will unconsciously give you insights into his personality. And after all, we all want to bond better with the children, right? That is the key of emotional intelligence.
yeah. So another thing as a parent I want to understand is, since it's 6 years plus, and say the child is not expressive, right? तो वो अगर एक ग्रुप क्लास अटेंड करता है तो उसको एक्सप्रेशन में प्रॉब्लम नहीं आती?
See, that is the beauty of this class. When he sees people of his own tribe, most of the time the children are feeling, okay, I'm the only one who's going through this. Most of the children have become so much into themselves. I don't think so. Children these days emote. They've just gone into this, and this our media doesn't make it any better. It's just become interaction between the social media and me. So when he comes across a tribe of people who's probably feeling the same expression or the same emotion as he will actually open up. He will actually open up.
So another question to that is, like, right now in pandemic, we all have become very aware of mental health. So do you think it connects with the child's mental health? Because we see a lot of children getting cranky during the pandemic and all. So after the child has done your course, will he be better at handling himself or herself?
I feel so. Firstly, emotional intelligence is it's a personal skill. It's not like we're born with it. So that's why I say the faster we kind of inculcate in our children, the better it is. In schools in UK, US, and Singapore, it's become a part of the platform. Why is it so? It's a part of the curriculum because they're understanding that the children are really being hit hard by emotions, and their inability to regulate emotions is actually leading to a lot of mental disorder. I mean, research has proved that if emotions are not expressed, they actually become molecular blockages in your body, which later comes out as a disease. It could be either physical disease, so it could be arthritis, it could be cancer, it could be anything, or it could be a mental disease, which is, as Lydia shared the figures, WHO is sharing figures which are really alarming for us. So in India is something which we as parents have to inculcate in our children. See, then Motivo, we cannot do it without the help of the parents. We want the parents to understand the importance of emotions in the child life. The faster you introduce them to the world of emotions, the better it is for your child.
Right. So, I have got like too many questions because I'm a parent myself. So what if, so can I say a person who is emotionally intelligent is mentally strong?
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. I would probably frame it a bit differently. I would say emotionally intelligent people are much more happier, much more successful. And let me explain to you scientifically. And I'm talking about children here. Since this platform is about children, Motive is about children. So I'm talking about an adolescent brain. So when we look at adolescent brain, it is a brain under construction. So उसमें क्या होते हैं, the thinking brain, which is important, which is there to probably make decisions, analyze क्या करना चाहिए, what are the consequences. That is a part which is the thinking brain, and the next part of the brain is the feeling brain, which is responsible for your feelings and emotions. Now, as I said, an adolescent brain is under construction; it's not fully formed. So when is attacked by the so-called big emotions or the overwhelming emotions, the decision-making powers of the child or the thinking brain goes for a toss, and it is totally overtaken by the emotional brain. So this is the period when the child shows very erratic behavior. If he's not being able to regulate his behavior, this is the beginning of the mental issues which start, or the emotional issues. So, but if your child is emotionally intelligent, so let's presume he's having a problem. Let's presume his parents are fighting and it's affecting him, or he's being bullied at school, or he's not being able to focus in school, or he's having problems with his friends. If he's smart about emotions, if he's able to label his emotion, if he's able to regulate his emotion and come out of it, I would ask you that question. Don't you think he's got better chances of being happier and successful?
Right, right.
It's all about emotions.
So overall, what I feel is like after listening to your emotional intelligence program and what all you're teaching, I think overall personality में ही फर्क आ जाता है बच्चे के, because वो confidence exhibit करता है. I think he's not shaken up too much by the surrounding, because he can be composed. That's what I'm understanding, right? So we have like a lot of questions from our audience. So one is from Facebook. So Dipta has messaged us on Facebook. And thank you, audience, for being on Facebook, Zoom, LinkedIn, everywhere. We're so happy to have you. So Dipta is asking how to change their tensed mind when they're waiting for their board results. They become irritated as they're anxious about college admissions. How we parents deal with them?
So this question is coming to me from a parent. So I will address it from the point of view of a parent. Firstly, we always advocate at Motive for the importance of mindful parenting. So if your child is stressed and anxious, the first question you need to probably ask yourself, how much of that stress and anxiety is coming from you? How much of your undesired expectation are you kind of putting in your child? And if you're a mindful parent and if you're not doing so, just let the child be. He will learn. If he's feeling stressed, you could probably be an empathetic parent and just go and talk to him and say, you want to talk about it? I understand. Validate his emotion. Tell him, I get you. I know you're stressed, but there's no point. It's a feeling and it will go. Let us think of doing something which we can probably help us, handle the stress better. Make them understand it's just a feeling, okay? It's nothing that you have to brood over. The problem starts when they start brooding over one emotion. So if you're feeling emotion of stress, release it and don't instill your stress and anxiety on the child, because that actually fuels and makes it even worse. So validate the emotion, be an empathetic listener, understand, and don't negate it ever. If they're feeling and they're coming and talking to you, nothing could be better than this, because most of the parents are complaining the children are not wanting to talk only anymore. And that is why the coaches and counselors are coming into the picture. But if your child is wanting to talk to you, nothing is better than that. So be a mindful parent now and understand how to maneuver the situation, because this is probably the beginnings of forming a very strong bond with your child. Use it to your advantage.
Great. So we can unmute our audience now. Can we unmute Ankita? Ankita Fukan, I think. Hi, Ankita, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Ankita, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. First of all, a very big thank you. The session was very informative and really useful. So I have few questions. Can you suggest what are the assessments through which you can measure the emotion intelligence?
Can you just repeat that question, ma'am?
What are the
Sure.
Your
Yes.
voice is breaking. We cannot
assessment
hear
for
you.
Yes. Psychological assessments to measure emotional intelligence.
Ditya, would you like to take that one?
I didn't get the question. What was that?
She said, how do you measure the EI of the child?
Any assessment is there?
Uh, Scientifically, there are a lot of assessments. Okay.
Okay.
But as of now, we are not really getting into scientific measurement of EQ, because that is normally done at a very later age, and when we do it in corporate and when we do EQ in corporate. But for
Okay.
children, for very small children, we are not doing anything for
Okay.
say junior and elementary. From 6 to 11, we are not doing any assessment. But having said that, from 12 to 17, there is kind of an assessment sheet. Okay.
Okay.
But which they will complete, which will give them a score to say whether they are like, average, above average, or high on emotional quotient. So when they begin their program, they'll do a small assessment to know they can download that assessment sheet and do it. But not
Okay.
for very small children. As we said,
Okay.
emotional intelligence there is no fixed index. It is only,
Correct.
it can only grow and grow. But in
Yes.
corporates, we normally do it because, it's over there. There is a lot in stake when we do for leadership. But for children, not really, because we don't want to really from the beginning tell them that, okay, their emotional quotient is low or high. But we have
Correct.
chalked out a small assessment sheet for 12 to 17,
12 to 17.
which is their
Okay.
part of the workshop.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Can I ask two more questions?
Yes, quickly.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So I work as a school counselor, and so parents come up where we know, like some children, where we know that they are good at their emotion management skills, but or they're introvert. So this parents pressurize the thing. No, why can't they socialize? Why we want their children to extrovert? And some parents, when we explain about how some are introvert, ambivert, extrovert, some parents understand and some don't. So, and they really pressurize the child. So in such cases, how can we explain the parents, like if any guidance like that?
So tell me something first. Okay, first
Yes.
tell me, how do you know that the child is high on emotional quotient?
Ma'am, from the observation.
What is the assessment?
Okay, so it is again through observations, I can say, from the teacher's feedback, or from
What
the
is
children,
the feedback?
or
Give
like
me two examples quickly. What give me two feedbacks of the child.
okay, feedback, like whenever a difficult situation come, for example, something happened which made the child really angry or probably upset, and the way the situation is handled by the child. Yes.
Okay. The other one?
Yes, so I mean these two emotions I gave an example. Yeah.
So see, two things you have to remember. Okay, every high EQ has certain qualities, low on EQ has certain
Yes.
characteristics.
Yes.
Everybody will not
Yes.
have everything, but
Correct. That's true.
normally those who are high on EQ, okay, their self-belief is very high, and as a result, the confidence levels are high.
Yes.
So maybe there is room for improvement for that child. Maybe the child is okay. Maybe in managing himself, the child is okay. But when it comes to managing others or dealing with others, he's not okay. So there could be room. There could be enough room for the child to still work on the emotional quotient. And coming to
Okay.
the parents, the reason they get a little anxious is because, times are changing, and normally they think that if children are not confident enough, they will lose
Yes.
out. So that is probably one reason that parents get a little anxious.
Yes.
So I hope that
Okay.
helped,
Okay.
Ankita.
Yes. And ma'am, one more question. Yeah. Thank you so much. Sure.
Yeah. So, and moving over to Mrs. Vedita Kenny. Is Mrs. Vedita there?
Yeah.
Damini? Okay. Else, okay.
Yes.
So, okay, Mrs. Vedita is here.
Ma'am, I wanted to know, out of two parents, one parent is stern and having certain narcissistic qualities. So the child is suppressed. Just wanted to know how to see that the child is becomes confident in such situations when the child's emotions are suppressed by a narcissistic parent or stern parent. Thank you,
So
ma'am.
I assume that you're talking about your spouse, right? I assume you're talking about your spouse here, right? When two parents, I mean two husband, wife, right? The parent of the child. So one is narcissistic and the other one understands emotions, but is not being able to do much about it, right? So that's what I assume you meant. Well, I just want to tell you, mindful parenting cannot be done alone. This is a platform where you have to connect. At some place, you need to connect for the love of your child, for the growth of your child. So somewhere we need to connect. If you feel that you are part of your spouse or whoever is narcissistic, then that's really going to play a huge role in how your child develops. There's no two ways about it. I cannot sugarcoat and tell you that how important is the role, because you as parents are the first emotional intelligent teacher of your child. What behaviors what emotional patterns which are going to be formed at this period is going to shape the life of the child. So if any spouse is being narcissistic, believe you me, the suppressed behavior is going to really play havoc with the child's emotional behavior. So the faster you get out of it, the better, I would say, for the benefit
And the
of your child.
the child will not become confident. It all starts with the parents. If you heard my presentation, the environment we spoke about, the three environment which helps the child deal with their emotions. Yeah. So we've got to be very, very mindful.
So
And
somewhere you need to come into a consensus between both of you all for the benefit of the child, for the growth of the child, for the love of your child, that you all have to be, because you cannot run this show on your own, frankly. And if you cannot run the show, then you have to co-create with your child, right? So all three have to be together in this. And if it's not working out well, that needs to be looked into very, very seriously.
Even I would like to add to that, Vedita. Sometimes I totally understand it becomes very difficult to manage the stern parent, but you have to find a way to talk to the person sideways, left ways, right ways, I don't know which way, लेकिन वो figure out करना ही पड़ता है, and you have to basically understand why the parent is stern. कई बार क्या होता है, हम सिर्फ टिप ऑफ द आइसबर्ग देखते हैं, उसके बचपन की क्या कहानी है वो नहीं देखते हैं, की वजह से वो बहुत ज्यादा उस तरह के रिएक्शन आते हैं. सो वंस यू एड्रेस द इश्यू ऑफ द स्टर्न पेरेंट, राइट, जब वो समझने लग जाओगे तो उस पेरेंट को हैंडल करना भी आ जाएगा. एंड दैट इज हाउ यू टेक अ स्टेप अहेड विद द चाइल्ड. पहले पेरेंट को समझो, फिर उसके बाद बच्चे को समझो. So that's my personal take on it.
No, absolutely true, Minal, because why the parent is being so stern is all stems from his personal experience as a child. So what he learned is he's emitting it with his child. He's repeating the patterns which he's learned from his childhood. So it's absolutely true what you shared.
There's nothing wrong, because जैसे realization होती है ना, वैसे you can make the change. It's not that कि वो just because he's had that environment or because his personality, he's been like that for 40 years, he can't. As soon as you have that awareness, comes the change. The awareness is the key.
Right. So can you, Lydia, since we are running out of time, can you quickly talk about your program so that we have a clear idea?
Yeah, so as Rupali mentioned, it's a 5-week program. Starts with a very small week on introduction, and then there are 4 weeks. So it is basically based on daily activities, So the child is required to do a few activities, daily, which takes about 10-15 minutes, and comes to a weekend Zoom class. The Zoom timings are given here. You can please click a photograph of the timing. Okay, the Zoom, and where they come and share what they've done. We do a lot more activities, and it's a 1-hour Zoom session, and through that they learn how to share and learn from the others, because as we said, there are no right or wrong, it's just a perspective. So they'll try and understand how the other person is also reacting to different situations. Now, as I said, Sipping Thought, thank you for providing us the platform, and we have a special discount for all our Sipping Thought clients. We are giving you a 20% flat discount on the program. So you can see the program pricing, and the one in yellow is going to be your pricing. There's a 20% discount. So if you look at elementary, it was 5,999, and now it's become 4,799. So similarly, there's a discount on all of the modules. Please visit the website. Damini has shared the link of the website. We are now taking registration on the website directly. In case you find it difficult to register on the website, you can send us the registration form, and we will get back to you and help you register. The program is beginning from the 26th, which is the Saturday. So registration will close on 23rd, because we will need a 2-day gap for people to finish the introduction module when they come to us on the Zoom class. So this is what it is, and we urge parents to invest in the children. This is the time, and because we want you to come halfway through, we've also gone halfway through to give you that discount. And especially thanks to Sipping Thought, who have brought the parents to a platform where parents really want to learn about the children, because it is extremely important in these trying times. So with that, over to you, Minal.
So thank you, guys. We have a very concerned parent we were like ending the show, but one last question that I want to take is from Praveen. So it says that my daughter was very confident. I have actually, that chat has gone up. 1 second. So basically बच्चे का स्कूल चेंज करा, छोटा 10 years का, और पहले कॉन्फिडेंट बच्चा था और वो बच्चा अब कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं रह गया उसके अंदर. So what can be done, and how do we find out what's the reason?
I answered a question on a personal chat, but I'll still kind of address it.
Okay.
So every feeling is masking a behavior. Every feeling is trying to tell you a message. So my request to her is try to understand, why is she feeling so underconfident? Understand the message behind her. Talk to her empathetically and hear it without any points of view, what she's trying to tell through her behavior. Once you understand the message behind the behavior, you'll be able to help her definitely. And it's all a case of emotions, definitely. Something is bothering her in space. So understand the message behind it, and then you'll definitely be able to connect to her from the heart space. As a mindful parent, we always advocate at Motivo, connect to her heart space. All the children want to be loved and understood. Understand what she's trying to do.
And also very importantly, show her the positives. Usko batao ki, you made friends there, those friends are there, now you're going to make more friends. So always focus on the positives. It's very important. Ki unko batao ki, see, you're going to learn something new, you're going to find new teachers, you're going to, broaden your connections. So, try and show her the positives. It won't make sense to her initially, but slowly she settles down. Keep on talking about it. And Rupali said, connect from the heart space. Is it only the change of school, or is it something else? So it's very important to go deep into the message that the emotion is trying to convey to you.
So thank you, Rupali and Lydia. So on that note, we have to end the show. So one quick line from you, Rupali, one quick line from you, Lydia. So we close the show on that.
Well, I'd like to tell each and every parent watching this show, I have been a very emotionally unintelligent child from my adolescence. It took me a long time to understand the importance of emotional intelligence. So do not waste any more time. Just invest in your emotional intelligence right this moment. This is an investment you will never regret. So enroll them for the Motivo course coming up on the 26th.
Thank you.
And for
Rupal.
me, I would say that be mindful of all the messages that the emotions are conveying. Every emotion communicates a message. It's up to us to decode that message. And the faster we act, the better it is. Enroll them for the Motivo Emotional Intelligence Program. Thank you.
Great. So on that note, thank you our audience for joining us. Do follow us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere. And this show will be telecasted on all our channels. So those who missed can watch it also. And as a parent of teenagers, I would like to tell you just one thing: keep the communication open. It's okay to tell them कि मैंने भी बहुत सारी गलतियां करी हैं, अगर तुमने करी तो कोई खास बात नहीं है, और उनको अपनी एक्सपेक्टेशन के तले दबा के उनके बचपन ना खत्म करें. So on that note, see you guys next Wednesday on Sipping Thoughts. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.